Sheriff, welcome to the show, sir.
It's always a pleasure, and hello once again to your fabulous listeners.
Now, I do have to say that when you get on my show, you always put me in a good mood, and I look forward to it. It's like my favorite segment of the week is when Sheriff Clarke comes on, because you make me laugh half the time. But you got some very serious op-eds up, and I launched a new website, TrumpNationNews.com. And here's what I'm going to do for you. Starting today, we are going to post all your columns with your little picture with the hat there, right? People see that hat, you in that hat, they're going to click on it. It's like a click magnet machine when you're in that cowboy hat. Tell us about your recent piece on townhall.com.
Yeah, appreciate that. First of all, I encourage people to go there at townhall.com, but they can also go to your news site to read my stuff. That's why you're right. I want to be known as a thought leader, so I put a lot of work into those things. I do research. There'll be links to other stories. A lot of it is to prove my point when I put out a fact or figure. And the last couple have been about what's going on in Washington, D.C. and the troubles that the president faces. The last one was the former Navy secretary who disagreed with the commander-in-chief about a decision. And, coming from a hierarchical framework myself, being in law enforcement, command and control, it's very clear that you follow the orders of your superior. You may disagree. I mean, Colin Powell, former Secretary of State and four-star general, talked about this. He says if you disagree with your superiors, you go in behind closed doors, you ask for a meeting, you make your point, and if the superior officer still says, hey, what I said go and my decision's made, you leave and you go and you carry it out as if it is your own. And he said, Colin Powell said, if you cannot do that in the military, and policing is a quasi-military organizations, if you cannot do it, you have to have the courage to resign. So when I see these people, and it's not just the military, it's people in the State Department, it's people in the intelligence agencies, people in the FBI, people in the Justice Department. Remember Sally Yates,
that's right,
who defied the president's order to carry out his immigration policy, and he had to fire her. These people doing it behind his back, and actually they're not doing it behind his back. They're doing it, they're hiding in plain sight. I mean, they're coming out publicly saying they disagree. That is insubordination. That is a severe act of insubordination and should be fired for that sort of stuff.
Well, look, we were talking earlier about the fact that we have the alleged whistleblower that met with Schiff staff the day on July 26th, the day after the call. And then immediately after that, Schiff's committee hired his best friend. But both of these guys were Obama appointees. Both of them served for over a year in the Trump administration at the National Security Council in the White House. These people should have been terminated on January 22nd, 2017. I mean, the fact that the fact that the Trump administration has been so inept in their management of personnel, and that's really what it is, Sheriff. I mean, you have to. I got to get everybody to call this out, or it's going to happen again. The PPO offices is a disaster. They didn't manage any of this the right way. They were unprepared when they got in there. I understand they didn't have the right transition team and they couldn't figure it out. I get all that. But going into a second term, they have got to fix this. I mean, these guys served under the president in the White House, in the NSC, for a year and a half. Do you think they didn't go in the office every day trying to actively undermine the president's policy, and he let them stay? That's the problem.
Yeah, it is. And one of if there is a criticism that I have of the president, and there are not many, but one is that he didn't clear the decks.
Clear the deck.
He came in. Yeah, there are 4,000 presidential appointees, and that's a lot, and it takes time to do that. They should have given him pink slips the very first day after he was sworn in, and then they can reapply if they want. But these are trusted positions, and so you have to have people that you trust. You don't have to. You shouldn't have to, test them to see, I don't know, can I trust this person? And these people that work in these positions, they understand confidentiality. They're always going to see stuff. They're always going to overhear stuff that goes on a conversation. They might be walking past a room. They might walk past an office and hear somebody on a phone call. And for them to overhear that stuff and then to leak it, that's not whistleblower. That is not whistleblower stuff. That is insubordination. That is a breach of trust. And you're right, they should be immediately fired. But then you get into the political aspect. That's why they label this guy a whistleblower, by the way. That was a trick. That was a game because whistleblowers have protection. That guy didn't whistleblow. What he did was he breached the president's trust. That's a crime. He should be prosecuted for that. But when I mentioned that's the political end, now if he fires a whistleblower, the Dems will go crazy. Oh, he fired a whistleblower. Violation of the whistleblower statute, and that's an impeachable offense. So now he's got to tread lightly on some of this stuff. But you're right. He has to continue to sift through and just anybody who was appointed by Obama, get rid of them. I don't care if they're good. Those people are not irreplaceable. Sometimes they think they are. You're limited with the career civil servants, but with the presidential appointees, I would have fired them all. And if he wins re-election, I would make sure that I scrub the deck, get rid of all of them, bring some new people in, some fresh blood. That's how you drain the swamp. That's how you get a fresh set of eyes. That's how you get a fresh perspective. Not these people that hang around in that bubble of Washington, D.C., thinking that they're all high and mighty.
Well, look, that is what they have to do. Clear the deck. That should be the mantra. Clear the deck in a second term. Get rid of all the never-Trumpers. Get rid of the Obama appointees. And look, folks, this isn't like you're firing people that are civil servants. Like, oh, my God, you're firing a civil servant because a new person could vote. No, these are political appointees. What I'm trying to explain to our audience is a new administration comes in, Sheriff Clarke, they have 4,000 political appointee openings throughout the agencies. 4,000. These are people who serve at the pleasure of the president. These are not career State Department executives or diplomats or civil servants, okay? These are political appointees. And the purpose of the political appointee, they have one purpose. You know what it is? Drive that administration's agenda forward. That's why they plant them in all the agencies. There's landing teams, and then they drive the civil servants, the bureaucrats, forward with the Trump administration. This never got done. So half the people in there are still holdovers from Obama, undermining the president's agenda. The other half never got appointed, and the few that we did, half of those were establishment RNC never-Trumpers that hate the president. So with this, you had no shot at getting any of his agenda done. And still, look what he's accomplished. Second term, they got to change that. They got to get PPO straightened out. Let me read this text from John in Yorktown who says, yes, Trump administration inept with personnel matters. White House PPO F. Biggest disaster, and we got to fix that. Sheriff Clarke, I want to go to your article in Town Hall on the firing of Navy Secretary Spencer and Tim Kaine and Mark Warner running around with their hair on fire, saying what a tragedy this is, what a great man he is. Trump fired him, isn't he a meanie, etc. Well, tell me what happened here.
Typical Washington sink, really, when these the senators that you mentioned, Kaine and the other guy, come out applauding these guys. I mean, this is the way they think of each other in Washington, D.C. They think they're irreplaceable. But, you know, this guy disagreed with, he tried to get rid of a Navy SEAL. And the president decided to, no pun intended, trump that decision and reinstated that guy and let him retire. And the guy didn't like that, so he tried to go around his back, the president's back. The commander-in-chief, this is a secretary of the Navy, he knows better, tried to go behind his back and get it done anyway. And so when the president found out that he went around not only the commander-in-chief, but he went around the back of the defense secretary at the time, and, you know, to try to get this thing done. And so when it was discovered, he was asked for his resignation. And, of course, some of these people don't have the decency to resign. They force you to fire him, and that's what you have to do. And then they try to make themselves a martyr. And then they go, you know, on the public trail now. They'll be called before Congress, a Democrat-controlled House, and talk about woe is me, and I was just trying to do the right thing. All this nonsense. I don't care what the motive is. You disregarded an official order from the commander-in-chief. The president, we have civilian control of the military through an elected president. That's what the founding fathers wanted. They did not want a police state. So they put the elected president. So that means we the people, when we choose a president, we're also choosing a commander-in-chief.
Mm-hmm.
That's our representative over the armed forces. So I don't want to hear about career military people, and they know best. And I know someone in Congress had said, the Democrats said that they were troubled that the president was meddling in the military. I said, he's the damn commander-in-chief. What do you mean meddling in the military? And then here's another thing. I brought this out in the article, John, that if you recall, Obama replaced General Stanley McChrystal, who was the head of CENTCOM, I believe, high-ranking position, because Stanley McChrystal, who I liked, he gave an interview in some magazine, Rolling Stone magazine, and he was very critical of the president's military and foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
And when that issue came out, it went viral, obviously. The president immediately called him in and relieved him of his command. I didn't agree with a lot that Obama did, but I agreed with that because you cannot have that sort of thing in a command and control structure. McChrystal undermined the president, the commander-in-chief, and it was Barack Obama at the time, even though I didn't vote for him. He's still the commander-in-chief. And nobody in Congress, nobody, no Democrat said, well, I wish the president wouldn't have meddled in military affairs. The president's got to have thicker skin. Nobody said a damn thing, but all of a sudden the President Trump, commander-in-chief, exercises his authority, and the Democrats run around like their hair's on fire.
You know, you are so right, Sheriff. We're with Sheriff David Clarke. He's America's Sheriff. Go to americasheriff.com. He's also a senior advisor. We Build a Wall, webuildawall.org. And, Sheriff, not only that, you go back to President Clinton. I cannot remember the general's name, but he was somewhere overseas, and he was at a party, and he had one drink too many, and at a party in a public forum, he criticized President Clinton. Okay, this is way before social media and viral and all that. But, you know, it leaked out. A couple people were there that leaked it to the media. And Clinton made him resign the next day when he found out. And I agreed with that. A lot of Republicans were upset over it that, we had a few drinks. And you can't do that, right? This is the president of the United States. He's the commander-in-chief. I didn't vote for him. He got elected. Too bad, right? Beat him the next time. And I forget, somebody can look it up, but that general was relieved immediately. You have to do that, right? But when the generals defy Trump, the media now applauds them. Figure that.
It's amazing. Don't forget, great generals like Patton were replaced. Abraham Lincoln replaced the general during the Civil War because he replaced him with Ulysses Grant because he didn't like the way that the war was going. Look, you have to make those sort of things, and those are tough decisions, but those are the calls that the commander-in-chief gets to make. And there's a political cost to pay if you make a mistake or if you really screw something up. There's a political cost to pay, and you let that aspect of politics play out. As a Congress, they have some authority in this, but they get to approve some of these positions. But after that, their job is over. Now it's the commander-in-chief's call, and done nothing in the world shows how serious you are about something than to fire somebody. Sometimes it's a good thing to do. You got to get the right people on the bus. You got to get the wrong people off the bus. Then you have to get them in the right seats before you move the bus. Otherwise, you're going to have nothing but trouble. And keep in mind that personnel is policy. So the people that he's choosing in these positions, he's basically communicating what his policy is going to be. And those people have to carry it out.
Exactly. That is the main thing. You have to carry out the president's policies. And if you don't want to carry out the policies, you shouldn't be there. But you have to remember, those that are there, that the PPO office, that the administration never, as you said, cleared the deck with to let them stay, right? What are they going to do? They're going to undermine an agenda they don't believe in. Of course they're going to do that. I mean, put yourself in this place, okay? If I was a high-level government appointee of President Trump serving his second term, and I'm a true believer in his America First policy, let's say it's on trade, and I'm in the Department of Labor, right? And I'm going to keep position there, third or four levels down, or I'm a liaison for something. And second term, 2025, you have a President Warren, and they keep me there. You really think that I'm going to get up every day and fight for her agenda that I think's crazy? Of course not. I'm going to do everything I can to undermine it because I'm doing what I believe in. You know what? If you're stupid enough to leave me there, that's your fault, not mine. Am I right?
Oh, you're correct. And,
Thank you.
This phrase that's being used of a shadow government that the lying liberal media, the New York Times, CNN, Washington Post, MSNBC, Huffington Post, and others, they laugh, they scoff, they say there's no shadow government. Sure there is. We're seeing it. There's no longer a shadow. We're seeing it in plain sight. The stuff that goes on because the federal bureaucracy, and your listeners know this stuff. I know I'm preaching to the choir. The federal bureaucracy protects the status quo. They protect their jobs. It's bloated. It's inefficient. But they're there to protect that. And so when a new president comes in, it's always a shock to the system. And tremors rumble through Washington, D.C. when there's a new administration because people are afraid, oh, my God, we've had this for the last 8 years, and we liked it under the Democrat president. Oh, my God, now someone's going to come in and upset the apple cart. Yes, that's what needs to be done. So the president, I think, has done a great job of that, as you said, under the circumstances. But there is a lot of work to be done. That is why it is so imperative right now. Job one is getting Donald Trump reelected for a second term so he can finish the job of draining the swamp.
Exactly. Sheriff David Clarke, I'm going to put your column up today on Spencer. You're going to find it on nationnews.com. I'm going to put it up in the next 5 minutes, and we're going to go from there. Go to americasheriff.com. Sheriff Clarke, always great to have you. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure, John. Thank you.
We'll see you when you're in D.C.